Hi everyone and welcome back to WSO. Again, my name is Isabella and today's video we're going to be going over HireVue interviews. So a lot of you guys saw my last series, which basically goes over investment banking interview questions and things that you should expect, including the order of how this process goes. If you have any questions about that, please refer to that last video. And in there I did mention where HireVue was in that process, but this video is going to be going in depth on what HireVue is and what for you to actually expect for your HireVue portion of the interview. To start off, HireVue interviews are very common with bulge bracket banks, so B of A, Merrill Lynch, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, etc. Make sure that you kind of prepare for this a little bit if you apply to one of those banks, because chances are you're definitely going to get a HireVue interview. It's not guaranteed for smaller banks, but some of them have it as well, because the whole point of HireVue is to automate the recruitment process. That being said, they have thousands of applications for every single position, and they don't have time to kind of comb through all of those. So they'll send this to you, get a feel of who you are, and then they can really select who from that they're going to actually interview in person. Now, if you're wondering what the heck a HireVue interview even is, I can go over that right now. It's basically a digital platform that is sent to you from a bank. So for example, I had a HireVue interview with Morgan Stanley not too long ago where I submitted my application and then they said, "Thank you for your application. You have now been selected for the first portion of your interview." And that's basically the HireVue interview. Now it's going to be mostly behavioral questions. So like I said, I had another previous video that talks about behavioral and technical questions. You might want to go on there and brush up on your behavioral questions, or use the investment banking interview course that I mentioned in that video, which has a ton of examples. Now towards the end of this video, we're going to be going over firm specific HireVue questions, because some firms ask the same question to almost everybody, or let's say they have 50 select questions and they tend to rotate out those questions to everybody who does the HireVue interview. So I'll go through some of those threads so you guys can see it. So if you want to work at Morgan Stanley and you have an interview, you might want to comb through those questions to get an idea of what you might be asked first. Now again, like I mentioned, HireVue is a digital platform. It's sent to you, and basically they'll say you have however many days to complete this HireVue interview. Make sure your microphone works, make sure your camera works, and basically the interview is going to be recorded. So you just basically log in, click on it, and it's going to pop up. There's going to be a timer on the sides. It's going to be counting down. You're going to see yourself, and the question's going to pop up. So you're going to see the question pop up, read it, and then answer it. This is why it's good to kind of know the questions before you do it, because you're recorded. You can't really make up for it afterwards. It's a one-shot kind of a thing. Alrighty guys, so like I mentioned, you're just going to want to go ahead and hop onto the Wall Street Oasis site. As you can see, I'm already logged in, and from here we can go ahead and try and look at some of the HireVue interview information for some specific firms. I'm going to go over a few that people typically have questions about. All I'm going to do is go over to the search bar and type in HireVue and search. As you can see, we have a ton of threads on it on the site, just from looking it up. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, even specified on position like summer analyst, etc. So I can go ahead and just open some of those so you guys can see examples. As you can see, there's even specification on asset management versus investment banking. So if you're going for a certain position, you most likely will be able to find it on our site for bulge bracket banks. If you can't find it for your specified bank, I guarantee if you ask, people will comment and help you find those answers. As you can see for this comment right here, this guy specified that he was an asset management summer analyst, and he had 5 questions, 30 seconds to prepare, and 90 seconds to respond for each. So like I said, the question pops up, you have time to read it, and then you have a certain amount of time to respond to those questions. Here he gives some examples of what those questions were for JP Morgan, like describe what factors have influenced financial markets in recent months and how they might affect our clients. Tell us about a time when you faced a complex problem and how you found the solution. Tell us about a time you worked in a team to solve a problem. And what leadership experience or extracurricular activity on your resume is most important to you and why. So as you can see, this thread was specifying asset management, and all of the responses were really geared towards that, which is great. Like I said, everything gets pretty specific, so if you have questions about sales and trading or investment banking, you can totally look those up and I guarantee you'll find them. As far as Morgan Stanley 2020 HireVue questions, here they gave this person 48 hours to complete it, 2 questions each with 1 retry attempt. I've never heard of a retry attempt, so that's interesting. Each question gave 30-second prep time and 90 seconds to answer the question, the same questions as last year. What's a recent transaction that you're interested in? What's a time you saw something in a team project activity you were doing? How did you react? And what did you do? As you go through the comments, there's people asking different questions with different responses from Morgan Stanley. So if you're interested in Morgan Stanley, I highly recommend going to a thread like this. Lastly, we're here at Goldman Sachs Exploratory Program, HireVue. And this is the following that this person was asked. Are you able to attend the entirety of the program if selected? How did you bring diversity to the firm? What division are you directing in the firm? What division are you targeting in the firm? This person said that they got asked one question and it was along the lines about a skill of theirs. So like I mentioned earlier in the video, though the questions are not going to be the same for every single bank and you're going to want to prepare for questions in general, our online investment banking course has a ton of behavioral questions, and if you use that to prep for your interview, HireVue, and in person, you'll definitely be very well rounded if any question comes at you. It seems as though most of these questions, like I mentioned, are behavioral, and there might be one on there concerning markets at the moment. However, nothing seems to be very technical, like I said. So as long as you can kind of prepare for these kinds of questions, in general, you should be ready. It might be phrased a little differently at a different bank, but if you want to get up-to-the-date answers, definitely check out our site and our threads because, like I said, all the banks are going to be there for all the HireVue questions. And if you're not seeing something there, you can always ask, and I guarantee you'll get a lot of replies. Of course, what I would emphasize in terms of tips is act like you're having a conversation with the person. All of my HireVue interviews that I've done have gone really well, and the reason why is I totally act like I'm just talking to somebody. I don't look very uncomfortable. If you want to practice, I highly recommend doing that. I've actually recorded some of my previous HireVue interviews. I'll put my phone in the corner and talk, and then I'll review it afterwards and say, oh, okay, I could have done better on this. And even if I get the position, I then have a better idea of what maybe I could have done better on, etc. And it just gives you a good idea to see how you are on camera and, how you're going to do in your interview. Again, the timer is going to be on there, but don't feel forced to spend the entire amount of time answering the question. If you feel like you're dragging it out, it's going to be noticeable to the person who's watching it, and it's going to be kind of cringy. When you work in investment banking, you're going to spend 100 hours sometimes with these people, and they want to make sure that your personality and their personality kind of has a fit and that you fit their culture, which is why they're doing this whole interview in the first place. I hope this video was really helpful for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I know that I say this under every video, but if you follow me on Instagram, please message me and say why you're following me, because for Instagram, and I don't really look at who follows me either, to be honest with you. So if you don't mention that you follow me from Wall Street Oasis or that you have a question, I'm probably just not going to look at it. So make sure that you do that. I totally don't mind speaking with any of you guys. If you live in a nearby area, feel free to meet me at the Wall Street Oasis meetup. So thank you again for tuning in, and make sure you subscribe to our channel so you can watch the next video.